Today I'm going to show you how to make a reusable fabric bow that looks just like a Christmas bow that you'd find at the store, but these can be used over and over, and they are put on a stretchy elastic band, so you can put them on different sizes of presents. You can either double it up and do like a ribbon, or you can do just over for bigger gifts. These will fit on different size gifts because the elastic is stretchy and you can stretch it in different ways. So I'm going to show you how to make one of these with cotton fabric. You can also use a non-woven such as leather. This is like a pleathery leather with glitter on it, and you can do the same thing. Instead of using the pattern pieces, just cut these 1 inch wide. And if you're doing the fabric one, there are pattern pieces on my website you can download that have the length of each of these little pieces that we need. So to start out, we are going to use fabric, just cotton fabric, and these are 2.5 inches wide. So I've cut strips 2.5 inches wide but longer than I need, and then I'm going to use my pattern piece to cut these down. So we need 3 large pieces, and these are on the fold. So to get on the fold, I'm going to just fold my strip in half, and then I'm gonna kind of measure a little bit and then press it as I go too. Just a little bit. Okay, so this is a large piece. Now that I have a large size, I'm going to cut 2 more from my long strip. This one's not long enough, so I'm going to save that for a different length. Okay, so I need 3 larges. So I have those. I'm going to set them over here, and then I need 3 mediums. So medium is right here. I have 3 of those, and then I'm going to fold the pattern piece down on this line to give me the size small, and I need 2 smalls. And my last piece is the extra small. So this one is really little. I'm going to fold the pattern piece again. Cut it out right here. And I cut off this folded fabric so I don't have that. Okay, so the extra small, we only need 1. It's just this little loop at the top to hold it, to kind of cover those seams. Okay, so we should have 1 extra small, 2 small, 3 medium, and then 3 large. And then we're just going to give these a little press to make them straight. And then the next step is to fold each of these in half with the right sides together along the long edge, and you can give these a press to hold on, that way we won't have to use any pins. So do this for all of the strips, and then we're gonna sew them together along the edges, the raw edges, with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Since we're using the same seam allowance for all these, I chain stitched them together. So I just put 1 into the sewing machine, and after I was done, I didn't bother to cut, I just threaded. Just left the thread and fed the next one in. That's just a little faster way to do it. So after I clip them all apart, we're gonna turn these right side out. The easiest way to do that is with a safety pin. So you want to pin the safety pin on the outside edge of the fold here at the one end of your tube. And then we're going to feed this top part into the tube and just guide it through. And the safety pin makes it easy to have. You have something to hold on to, and it's going to pull the tube through itself. If you don't have a safety pin, you can use a chopstick or even a tube turner. So these will all be turned the same way. And then when you're done turning them all, we'll press them. After you've turned all your tubes, press them flat with the seam on the back of the tube. Now we're going to shape each of these tubes and sew them together. So we are going to take the longest strip first. We're going to fold one end this way and one end this way. And they're going to meet in the middle and create a figure 8 shape. So you will want to make sure they overlap enough so that this little point is fairly pointed. So we don't want it to be like that. We want it to be pointed, and you might have to kind of play with the angle and the amount of overlap. Once you have a good shape, we're going to pin this down. And then we'll sew straight through the center here to keep it in place. So once you get to the smaller ones, it's a little bit harder or trickier to turn them, but you'll still be able to do it. Just play with those ends. And then we'll sew them all in place. Here's a little bit closer view of that figure 8 shape. And then to sew it in place, we're just going to stitch across the middle and back stitch a little bit to keep it nice and tight. I've sewn all my pieces together except for the last piece, the smallest loop. You can sew it together, you'll just overlap about 1 inch and sew in there, but it is a little tricky, so I'm just going to glue it, and that's fine too. So next step, you'll want to trim your threads. An optional step here is to trim the fabric, both on the top of your loop thing and underneath. That way it'll just reduce the bulk of the bow a little bit. So trim all your threads, that's the most important. And then if you want to reduce bulk, go ahead and do that too. Okay, now that we have all our pieces ready with their threads clipped, we're going to start gluing them. So what we'll do first is start with the big pieces. These kind of go on the base, and we want to put them in a way so that the points are evenly distributed. So it's going to look a little bit like a star. So you can kind of lay it out, and then we'll start gluing with our glue gun. And then push that next layer down. And then you can adjust kind of where the points are before the glue dries. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more glue here on the bottom. And then after the large ones are in place, we're gonna go to the medium size. There are 3 of these. So just wherever there's kind of a hole is where you're gonna want the points to go. And as it gets taller, there will be holes kind of opening up. So you'll kind of just put the points where it kind of looks right. And then after the mediums, we're going with the smalls. There's 2 small pieces. And then the last piece is the loop. So I'm going to glue the loop into a loop. So it's that extra small piece. I'm just going to glue it into a circle here. And I'll trim off just a little bit. And now I'll place that as the final piece here. Okay, so once you have all of those pieces on, your bow is taking shape. If you need to add any glue in there, go back and add some glue if it feels loose. And then the next step is to attach it to a piece of elastic. This is fold over elastic. I like it because it has a shimmer to it and it looks a little bit like a ribbon. So what I'm going to do is find the ends and I'll glue those together. And you can make this ribbon any size. I like to just make it big, that way it can fit a pretty large present and it'll stretch, or I can stretch it a few times over a smaller present. And then I'll put some glue on, glue my bow, and then once this is dry, your project is finished. Another option is you can use a clip, and then you can clip it to a gift bag. If you are using reusable gift bags, that'll be cute. You can also use a clip and put it on your Christmas tree. So there's your finished Christmas bow made out of fabric. So these are reusable, eco-friendly, and just really extra cute and soft. If you want to make sure that they don't get crumpled, you can use a spray starch on your bow before you sew them together or after it's sewn together. The starch will just help keep the wrinkles out. But I hope you enjoyed this project. Head to my blog for more Christmas projects.